Hello, welcome back again, and today we're going to talk about Bhabani Bhattacharya, who fictionalized freedom through social realism. So, ever heard of diplomat who used novels to fight injustice? That's Bhabani Bhattacharya for you. Born in 1906, Bengal roots, and went from Bhagalpur to London, then straight into India's diplomatic corps. But his real mission was what? Storytelling. And he didn't start young. He picked up the pen in his 30s, kind of late bloomer. But what followed was his fire. He wrote in English on advice from his mentors and used fiction like a weapon, satire, allegory, Gandhi, Tagore, all stitched into meaningful plots. He didn't just entertain, he taught and he challenged, he made you think. And in 1967 he also won Academy Award, and this was actually asked in your exam. Anyway, so if you want to stories with a spine, or that carry history, politics and purpose, Bhattacharya is your guy. So many hunger that we're going to talk about now, and it was kind of the year was 1947. India just been freed, but the hunger is still everywhere. Bhabani Bhattacharya drops his debut novel, so very important that it was his first novel. So many hungers, and the title says it all. There is a character called Kajoli, a village girl who could have been trafficked, but chooses to sell what? Newspaper instead. And why? Because Gandhi taught self-reliance. Then there also we have a character Rahul, a Western educated astrophysicist, smart elite, but he gives it all, chooses what? Rural India over fame, and at the heart of it all. And then we have another character, Devata, Rahul's grandfather, Gandhian, saintly, leading a satyagraha in Barani, famine, protest, morality. This isn't just a story, it's a blueprint for post-colonial identity. A fight not just, against empire, but against injustice everywhere. And UGC loves, especially the character Kajolis. So, yeah, so many hungers. It's not about a starving body, it's about starving soul. Other works like you have heard, like So Many Hunger, we already talked. But Bhabani Bhattacharya didn't stop there. His pen, was just getting warmed up. He started even before independence. There is a work called Some Memorable Yesterday, 1941, reflecting on moral giants who shaped his thinking. Then there is another work, Then Indian Cavalcade, 1948, right after independence, kind of deep dive into India's history through reformation and visionary, not just biography, national memory, and then came to that fiction. Right, music for Mohini, very important. A young woman caught between modern ideals and rural tradition. Bhattacharya's way of asking, can we be new without forgetting who we are? There is another work that is called He Who Rides a Tiger. Sharp, unapologetic, a blacksmith fakes being a holy man to expose caste, fraud and hypocrisy. Then there is another work, The Golden Boot, 1956, inspired by Tagore. Kind of little bit softer, more spiritual, wrestling with, suffering and belief. And finally, we have another work, Towards Universal Man, 1961, a collection of essays echoing Tagore's global humanism. So he wasn't just writing a story, he was writing India's conscience, right? Then very important work, and it was asked in your exam also, Shadow from Ladakh, which was published in 1966. So imagine India in 1962 and China attacks, and Bhabani Bhattacharya turns this battlefield inward. Shadow from Ladakh isn't just about war, it's about who we become when peace is shaken. So there is a character, Satyajit, a Gandhian, pacifist, calm, idealistic, non-violent to the core. But now his country is under threat. Then there is another character, Sumita, a government worker, in defense, practical, focus. She's not, here to meditate. And she's here to act. Their worldview clash, and that's the real war. Not tanks, not missiles, but values versus survival. So Bhattacharya mixes humor with heat, pulling us into questions we are, still asking. Can tradition survive modern warfare? Can idealism hold when the bullets, start flying? And guess what? He doesn't hand us answer. And just truth, layered, human, and honest. So this novel reflects Cold War, politics and India's ethic crisis. And this time, because of Pakistan's war, you might get this question as well. So anyway, Bhattacharya's final work and themes. So by the late 60s, Bhattacharya had one goal: to blend myth, politics, and morality into something unforgettable. Then we have another work, A Goddess Named Gold, which was published in 1967. It was about a village girl who dreams big. There Gandhi meets magical realism, and suddenly transformation, feels divine. Then comes a Steel Hawk and Other Story, 1968. His only short story collection. Symbolism is there, satire is there, everyday people caught in not so everyday tension. And he didn't stop at fiction. He also wrote Gandhi the Writer in 1969, pure literary analysis. He unpacks how Gandhi's words, simple, clear, rebuilt a nation. And Net loves this question because it is included Gandhian theme, right? Then we have another work that is called A Dream in Hawaii. It is about an Indian scholar drifts, through cultural shock in the West. It's kind of, part of East and West philosophy, part kind of, some part of identity quest. And his final, work is socio-political currents in Bengal. That's very important because it was asked in your exam, way back, but it's very important. Anyway, back to his roots, charting Bengal's a reformist fire in the colonial age. Bhattacharya wasn't just a novelist, he was a Gandhian modernist, turning his stories into soul work. And then what you have to remember, chronological order, because it was asked in your exam. So here is the list of the work, and what we always do, use our first, middle, and last formula to remember all of his works in order. So first work you can put Some Memorable Yesterday, 1941. Middle work you should put Shadow from Ladakh, very important because in exam those chronological order has come. And in the last you can put socio-political currents in Bengal, a 19th century perspective, right? 1980. So here I have made a quote for you to remember all of this. Some memory craves so many hungers in Indian. It's like music rides a tiger, roars on a golden boat toward a universal man. Some memorable yesterday, it includes so many hungers include, another work, Indian Cavalcade include, music for Mohini include, he who rides a tiger, the golden boat towards universal man, all of it, right? And in the second quote, you can make like Shadow of a Goddess Hawk, written by Gandhi in A Dream of Politics in Bengal. So it includes Shadow from Ladakh, A Goddess Named Gold, Steel Hawk. Another story is Gandhi the Writer, A Dream in Hawaii, and socio-political, currents in Bengal, 1980. So it includes everything, right? Next, we are going to talk about Humayun Kabir, who's kind of, voice of rural Bengal in pre-independence fiction. So did you know one of Nehru's, cabinet minister, this guy was also, a writer? And our Humayun Kabir, Oxford educated, politician, poets, and novelist too. And his work very famous, Men and Rivers, that actually asked in your exam, recent exam. Anyway, so set in Faridpur, it dives into the lives of Bengal Muslim, not elite but villagers living by the Padma River, battling floods, droughts, and each other. But it's not just about survival; it's about community. Panchayats, harmony, conflict, and the colonial system messing with all of it. So Kabir doesn't yell, he observes, he shows how river, shape people, how tradition holds even when water rises and systems, fall. And the twist is he wrote all of this while holding, political office, balancing parliament and his prose. So that's a story. Here is the list of his work, and you don't have to remember all of it. You just have to remember Men and Rivers in 1945. It's very important because it has been, asked in exam many times, not once but couple of times. Anyway, ever heard of Kerala's, novelist who mapped Kerala's matrilineal society from London? That's S. Menon Marath for you. Born in 1906, a Nair by caste, he studied in Madras, then King's College London, and he stayed back, working as a civil servant, a librarian. But his art is, it is stayed rooted in Kerala. His first novel, The Wound of a Spring, 1960. It's not pity, it's about alienation, caste, and the chaos of tradition in pre-independence Kerala. Heavy but honest, and it was asked in your exam. Anyway, then he wrote The Sale of an Island, 1964, a sharp political allegory, post-independence dream slowly cracking, And his final major work is Janu, 1988, the story of an orphan girl forgotten by society but not by him. It hits, really deep inside the reader. So Marath wasn't loud, but he cut deep, philosophical, rooted, kind of real. And his take on Kerala's matrilineal system has come up in net. So it's very important. So if you're looking beyond the usual names, Marath's fiction is a map of memory and resistance. So that's all for today. And in our next session, we will take none other than Raja Rao. Very important, because one question you're definitely gonna get. So thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next session. Bye bye and take care.